Oh, Lord Almighty. Here we are, Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson, quote unquote audiobook. This is chapter 8. I'm not psychotic, I just need to get in front of you in line. This year, my doctor prescribed me antipsychotics to keep the psychotics away. I just asked jokingly. She was not joking. She promised me that this did not mean I was psychotic, but assured me that in a small way, in small doses, this drug, made for schizophrenics, could decrease the length of my depressive episodes if I used it as sort of a side dish to go with my antidepressants. So, of course, I took the drug. Drugs are magic. You take a pill and feel happy. You take another and feel less hungry. You take another pill and have minty breath. The last pill was actually a Tic Tac, but you get the picture. This is nothing better than hearing that there is a drug that will fix a terrible problem unless you hear the drug is for treating schizophrenia, or possibly that it kills fairies every time you take it. Frankly, I think it's the word that scares me. Antipsychotic, excuse me. I dare you to find a drug that will freak people out. Make sure my pages aren't stuck together here. All right. Freak people out. They're rifling through your medicine cabinet during parties, unless maybe it's medicine for contagious explosive combustion of the urethra, but I don't count that because it doesn't exist. I hope. Surely the people naming antipsychotics could have come up with something less hurtful. After all, we don't call Viagra the floppy dick pill, and hardly any of us refer to anger management therapy as maybe just stop being such an asshole class. I honestly can't think of any drug that is more of a stigma than antipsychotics. Truthfully, though, there are some advantages to being on antipsychotics. First off, you can't say you can say you're on antipsychotics. This might seem silly, but when you go to the pharmacy and you're standing in line with 20 germy people sneezing all over the place, you can honestly say, would you mind if I went first? I have to pick up my antipsychotic meds, and I really need them yesterday. This tactic also works for grocery lines, the DMV, and some buffets. That would be me, the buffet. Maybe the DMV too, because I live in Pennsylvania, as I've told you folks, and these people in Pennsylvania at the DMV, it's like in the fine print of their job application, it says you must be a crotchety old B word to work here. Anyway, continuing on with the story. The second advantage of being on antipsychotics is that they can actually help. In the time I have been on them, I've hurt myself less. I feel more stable. The blue men live in my closet that tried to sell me fewer cookies. Most of those squirrels plotting against me have disappeared. That last sentence was a joke, but only people with mild antipsychotics will laugh at it because everyone else is afraid it's true. It's not. It's squirrels. Squirrels are real, and they don't disappear no matter how many pills you take. Frankly, I'm shocked at how often I have to explain this. Some people say that drugs are never the answer, and I respect their opinion, but sometimes drugs are the answer. I think you need to be flexible. In fact, if you ask those same people, what was it that Nancy Reagan said you were always just say no to? They will all say drugs, and then I'll say, correct. Drugs are the right answer. So technically, we're both right. Then I point out that drugs are often very bad for you, and that you have to do your research first and realize that there's a difference between drugs and medication. You can tell the difference because the first ones are ironically much cheaper and easier to get than the latter, and also because of use of medicine requires constant doctor supervision, treatment, and blood work. Being on medication for mental illness is not fun. Let's stop right there for a minute. If you guys are just joining me, if you have not paid attention, I take medication. I take Wellbutrin and I take Klonopin. Klonopin is for my anxiety, and it is very well working. It works within minutes, my doctor said, and it works for me. And I take the Wellbutrin as supposedly, I've been told it's an antidepressant, but it's also to curb an anger issue. But that's due to an ex-girlfriend that I am still in disbelief on the way she treated me. Anyway, continuing on. Being on medication for mental illness is not fun, nor is it easy, and no one I've ever known does it just for kicks. Kids don't buy black market Prozac to take to raves. People don't use B12 shots as a gateway to drug to heroin. The side effects and troubles with taking medication are very real, and if you have chronic mental illness and something you have to deal with for the rest of your life, even if a drug is working for a while, it might stop working and you'll have to start all over again with something new, which can be incredibly frustrating and disheartening. And then you have to deal with the side effects that the new drug, which can include feeling excessively stabby, when coupled with an asshole telling you that your medication not working is just proof that you don't really need medication at all. I can't think of another type of illness where the sufferer is made to feel guilty and question their self-care when their medications need to be changed. I went on my first antidepressant. It had the side effect of making me fixated on suicide, which is sort of the opposite of what you want. It's a rare side effect, so I switched to something else that did work. Lots of concerned friends and family felt the last medication's failure was a clear sign that drugs were never the answer. If they were, I would have been fixed. Clearly, I wasn't sick as I was if the medication didn't work for me. And that sort of makes sense, because when you have cancer, the doctor gives you the best medicine. And if it doesn't shrink the tumor immediately, then that's a pretty clear sign you were just faking it for the attention. I mean, cancer is serious, often fatal disease we've spent billions of dollars studying and treating, so obviously a patient would never have to try multiple drugs, surgeries, radiation, etc., to find what will work specifically for them. And once the cancer sufferer is in remission, they're set for life, because once they've learned how to not have cancer, they should be good. And if they let themselves get cancer again, they can just do whatever they did last time. Once you find the right cancer medication, you're pretty much immune from that disease forever. And if you get it again, probably just a reaction to too much gluten or not praying correctly, right? Well, no, but at the same time, completely ridiculous reasoning is what people with mental illness often hear. Not just from well-meaning friends, or people who were able to fix their own issues without medication, or people who don't understand that mental illness can be dangerous and even fatal if untreated, but also from someone much closer and more manipulative. We hear it from ourselves. We listen to the small voice in the back of our head that says, this medication is taking money away from your family. The medication messes with your sex drive or your weight. The medication is for people with real problems, not just people who feel sad. No one ever died from being sad, except they do. And when we see celebrities who fall victim to depression's lies, we think to ourselves, how in the world could they have killed themselves? They had everything, but they didn't. They didn't have a cure for illness that convinced them they were better off dead. Wherever I start to doubt if I'm worth the eternal trouble of medication and therapy, I remember those people who let the fog win, and I push myself to stay healthy. I remind myself that I'm fighting against me. I'm fighting against a chemical imbalance, a tangible thing. I remind myself of the cunning unworthiness of the brain. But in the mentally ill and mentally stable, I remind myself that professional mountain climbers are often found naked. Lost my spot. Often found naked and frozen to death with their clothes folded neatly nearby, because severe hypothermia can make a person feel confused and hot and convince you to incredibly irrationalize things we'd never expect. Brains are like toddlers. They are wonderful and should be treasured, but that doesn't mean you should trust them to take care of you in an avalanche or process serotonin effectively. I never hear of psychotic breakdown. I'm seldom delusional. I've never hallucinated anything that didn't come from too much of a drug I probably shouldn't have taken anyway. I'm just broken, but in a way that makes me me. My drugs don't define me. I'm not psychotic. I'm not dangerous. The drugs I take are just a pinch of salt, a little seasoning in life, if you will. Your baked potatoes would be fine without it, but anyone will tell you that a pinch of salt can make the difference. I'm your potatoes, and I'm better with salt. Maybe this is a bad analogy. How about this? My taking low-level antipsychotics is like using just enough rum to make a good slice of rum cake, but not using enough to get alcohol poisoning and choke to death on your own vomit. The first is medicinal. The second one is gross and unsanitary. And as I know, some of you are saying this cake isn't medicinal. Really? Cake isn't medicinal? Who's crazy now, asshole? The whole world could be cured with enough cake and antipsychotics, which actually makes sense because you can't make cake without salt, can you? Wait, can you make cake without salt? I actually have no idea. I don't know much about baking. I know there's something white in there. Maybe it's flour. I'm thinking about, I just wrote salt because it brought all my metaphors back together. Sort of, probably not. It's hard to tell. I blame this whole chapter on antipsychotics. That is the end of chapter 8, my friends. Again, I am on Klonopin for anxiety, and I am on Wellbutrin. And I will say the Klonopin, again, works wonders. Feel no shame if you're on medication. I have very many people say, I don't know why I'm always depressed. I don't know why I'm always sad. I don't know why I'm always anxious. I don't know why I always feel this way. Well, my first question is, have you gone to your doctor? No. So you're not on medication. Kind of obvious, but no. Well, that's my first step. Go to your doctor. Maybe things can be worked out by talking to a therapist, a counselor, a psychiatrist. Oftentimes, we all know how Big Pharma goes. They'll push a medication. But you really do have control, my friends. You can, if you really do not, if you are anti-medication, try therapy. Try a psychologist or a counselor. Try talking to somebody that is professional in knowing how the brain works and what you should do to exercise your brain when you're feeling down or anxious or sad or any of the above. The other thing with medicine, if you are on medicine and it's not working for you, tell your doctor. They'll either up your dosage because maybe that dosage is not right for you, or they will switch you to a different medication. Everybody's body is different. We all react to medications differently. I believe medication is a good thing. I'm not one of them people that says Big Pharma is taking all our money. No, because I'll tell you what, there's medications that have kept my diabetic family members alive, including my dad. If he did not have his medications, he would be really bad. Also, years ago, back in 2006, 2006, excuse me, I had my very last seizure. I was put on Dilantin, and then I moved to a different doctor that put me on Keppra. And that Keppra must have worked because I have been seizure-free since 2006, and I am not taking that medication anymore. So I don't know exactly what happened. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a neurologist. I don't know. But I was on the medication Keppra for 3 months, and then I was taken off it for 3 months. And my doctor told me, he goes, if you don't have any seizure activity, we're just going to take you off the medication. Now, obviously, if anything happened, please come back and we will restart the medication. And again, with my Klonopin, the anxiety, my doctor told me it would work within minutes, and it does. I want to say I take 10 milligrams of Klonopin. I remember the first day I took it. Usually when I drive and I wasn't medicated, I would drive fast. Like I was in a hurry to get to my destination. I was thinking of 10,000 other things at once. My gears were just going a million miles an hour. But since I've been on the medication, things have slowed down to a steady pace. I'm able to not speed and get speeding tickets like I have. I'm able to focus on one task at hand, maybe even two, depending on their level of attention grabbing. Um, so yeah, and speaking on which medicine might not be right for you, I've been on a number of antidepressants. Uh, I was on Xanax, and Xanax seems to work for a lot of people. Xanax didn't really work for me. So what was the other medication? I was on another medication after that. I'll be darned if I can remember the name, but I took Xanax and then I took something else. Um, and that didn't work for me either. So I went a number of years just being moderately anxiety filled. And finally, I met my ex, which kicked everything into overdrive. My anxiety, my anger, just everything like that. It's pretty sad when we let a person take control of us and make us feel a certain way. But narcissistic behavior is out there, and they can make you feel like you're the crazy one when in actuality they are the crazy one. But anyway, that's not about that. Make sure you talk with your doctor. If you're not on medication, get on medication, or seek professional help, and hopefully everything will get better for you guys. But I've rambled on long enough. Thank you guys for listening to Chapter 8. Chapter 9 is coming shortly. I think I'm going to get on reading a chapter probably every day. And you guys know I go out hiking mostly every Thursday, so I may not get to it tomorrow, but I'm hoping Friday. So until next time, y'all, please stay safe, stay healthy, and y'all please be good to each other. Take care, my friends.